committee where we scrutinized the audit reports and understood all the ways that government fails. And then 5 years as a minister, the first 2 in charge of finance and planning and personnel and pretty much all of the administration, and then the last 3 in charge of information technology and digital services. And I say this because back in the days when I was in the engineering manufacturing field, I thought the greatest complexity I had ever seen was large systems that had great scale. Like I've been to the factory, I don't think it exists anymore, in Everett, Washington, where they used to have an assembly line to build the large body Boeings, including the 767 and the 747, which was like 8 miles or 10 miles long, one factory, a continuous assembly line. And I thought to myself, imagine the complexity of managing that process when parts come in from 30 or 40 states. And you start with the frame at one end and a fully assembled 747 at the other. I also had the luxury of visiting some big naval shipyards and some big mines, 100 million tons a year kind of mines. And as a former engineer, as a former operations research major, marveled at the complexity of planning, building, and managing such systems. But then I went into the world of finance, and I realized that project management is even more complex in the service sector, particularly in the age of privatization, globalization, securitization. When I was in banking, and the amount of systemic improvement that was needed to deal with the level of innovation that was happening was too high. In fact, part of the reason we had the global financial crisis is that neither the regulators nor the large market makers and players built the infrastructure and the systems to deal with the huge complexity that came with massive innovation in, as I say, privatization and securitization. And then, of course, now I'm in government, and at least for a while, when I was in my own portfolio, we looked a lot at managing infrastructure projects and government projects. And in all of these, I am again and again reminded that possibly the weakest link is the execution capability. And a big part of that execution capability is not things like engineering, but actually project management, is administration, is the actual oversight. So I'm thrilled that such conferences bring people like you together, that you use these opportunities to not just network, as your president said, but also to enhance your understanding, to increase your skill set, to get exposed to new platforms and products, which I think some of the exhibitors out there will have. And in particular, given the theme you have this year, I thought I'd say a few things about AI, innovation, and sustainability. For me, it starts with digitalization. One of the best experiences I had in terms of thought-provoking was visiting the global headquarters of the Nemetschek Group in Munich 2 or 3 years ago, right after I took over this portfolio. And I realized the kind of possibilities that were becoming available in terms of building information, modeling, management, both execution, but more than execution, planning, once you had enough of a database, and eventually O&M, which I saw many old, large, complex buildings who were retrofitting their digital twins so that they could have a better idea, because all people are temporary. Nobody stays in a firm forever, buildings stay for a long time. And as people transition out, if you only have blueprints and physical plans, the knowledge gets lost. So these digital twins actually are such a huge improvement. And I thought about the many ways that the government could benefit from it. And by logic, because India is such a big player in technology and now in AI, we have 2-3 major companies that are growing rapidly. I'm very happy that one of them is in Madurai and started about 2 years ago with nothing, now has about 1,800 employees and is going to open a new facility with my chief minister, where I will attend in Madurai, which is my constituency, in about a week from now, and there will be another 1,200 people And this is just purely BIM related work, and they have major projects like the Dubai Airport and other things. So, in this age of digitalization, I think the first improvement is that you get institutional memory, continuity, stability, individual, independent institutional continuity. But then in the age of AI, you're going to get all kinds of additional benefits, because the more you digitalize, the more data you feed, the more likely these engines learn accurately, and they can start doing things predictively, which I'll give you an example why that's so important to us. Now, there's a lot of risk in AI. I mean, not that I'm that sophisticated in AI, but I've been in the technology space for a while now. One way or the other, my PhD dissertation was on human cognition and computer interface design, back when they were just about starting to have Windows and Apple Macs. I aged myself, but anyway, even in this coming of AI, while the computing power and the amount of data has grown infinitely, unimaginably compared to 20 years ago, the models have deep limitations. Every day we are learning more and more. You saw a few days ago a senior person retire or resign from Claude's parent company. And the letter he wrote was very thought-provoking, because he was worried that we were removing all the guardrails and that these engines are not nearly as sophisticated as we think they are, and they're easily misled, and because they learn a lot more from mistakes than from successful outcomes, they may be learning the wrong things altogether, or they may be programmed to make shortcuts that nobody has really contemplated. So I think, though this coming of the age of AI is probably more impactful, at least in kind of menial work, it comes with also much greater risks than the previous coming of age of AI. And in that context, this is one field where I think we will have relatively good risk-return metrics. Because as long as the data going in is relatively pure, we're only asking it to do extrapolation or learning patterns in a limited way with a very pure data set. The problem with these large models that are taking all the things under the sun is that the old adage of garbage in, garbage out, you end up with a lot of nonsense, you end up with, fantastic imagination of these engines creating all kinds of records that don't exist. But in your field, as long as the data is clean, I think the potential of AI is very high and the risk is relatively low. The same way I would say sustainability, as your president pointed out, is the need of the hour, and it is up to people like you to build it into your kind of initial description of the work, your project description, because it's much easier to do this from day one. Retrofitting things or trying to bring in an improved environmental outcome that is reduced environmental impact is much harder than if it's designed right the first time. And actually the cost of relative efficiency in terms of reducing environmental impact is significantly lower now than it used to be a while ago. Whether it's renewable energy, whether it's efficient cooling systems, whether it is material, recycled material, all of these, there's been huge innovation, and you can get cheaper, better materials now than you ever have, and it's going to keep going in that direction. I think there's so much innovation coming. Even in Tamil, when I travel around, I find young people who are innovating to suit their circumstances, coming up with such impressive possibilities. And I hope they'll get funded and we'll get to see the outcomes. I must say something about the government. That is, in the last 10 years, both in opposition and in office, actually governments are quite bad at project management. Most of us actually have lost the ability to do any real work. At one point, governments actually employed engineers to build things. Now we only have engineers to manage contractors. And that management is less than ideal. There was a World Bank report published around the time that I took office as a minister for the first time, right after the second wave of COVID, or during the second wave of COVID. And it highlighted that the vast majority of government projects in most countries run over cost, over budget, and over time. Right? And in many cases, it is because of this political disease where we announce first and then we plan later. And everybody wants to have the credit of the announcement. So every politician is inclined to first announce, then check the feasibility, then check the design, then check the cost. And these things naturally lead to bad outcomes. There are things we can
have him here in this forum as he is completely qualified to give a new direction to professional development. Following his graduation in chemical engineering from National Institute of Technology in Trichy, he obtained his master's degree in operational research and a PhD in engineering psychology at the University of Buffalo. His vast experience in financial management, human resource development, and information technology has played a very important role in shaping him to be one of the top leaders of our country, particularly to give a professional development for Tamil Nadu. His contributions to Tamil Nadu is well known. Today, Tamil Nadu is economically one of the leading countries in the state. In the whole India is the first country to
அது ரிசிப்ட் கொடுக்குது வாங்கிக்கிறேன் நான் வேணாம்
பார்க்க மாட்டேன்ட்டாரா 5 பேர்னு சொல்லிட்டு
We also address Padma Bhushan Ram as guest of honor, well-known journalist and political analyst, speaker, and well-versed with our Indian political systems and all processes of the whole world. He was the managing director of Hindu, and he now currently is the director of the Hindu group. So he got his master's degree from Presidency College in Chennai in 1966, and later his MS from journalism from Columbia University. So he's also a good thinker and a good advisor for professional development. So I take this opportunity to welcome these two great gentlemen who have come here to advise us how we should take shape in professional development. Also, I would like to welcome all the audience, including the president of IPMA, vice presidents, former presidents, and all the dignitaries welcome. I'm really glad that this forum has already is doing very well, halfway through. So thank you so much for coming, and I request one of you to honor the presence of the minister. We have him here in this forum as he is completely qualified to give a new direction to professional development. Following his graduation in chemical engineering from National Institute of Technology in Trichy, he obtained his master's degree in operational research and a PhD in engineering psychology at the University of Buffalo. His vast experience in financial management, human resource development, and information technology has played a very important role in shaping him to be one of the top leaders of our country, particularly to give a professional development for Tamil Nadu. His contributions to Tamil Nadu is well known. Today, Tamil Nadu is economically one of the leading countries in the state. In the whole India is the first country to
அது ரிசிப்ட் கொடுக்குது வாங்கிக்கிறேன் நான் வேணாம்
பார்க்க மாட்டேன்ட்டாரா 5 பேர்னு சொல்லிட்டு
We also address Padma Bhushan Ram as guest of honor, well-known journalist and political analyst, speaker, and well-versed with our Indian political systems and all processes of the whole world. he was the managing director of Hindu, and he now currently is the director of the Hindu group. So he got his master's degree from Presidency College in Chennai in 1966, and later his MS from journalism from Columbia University. So he's also a good thinker and a good advisor for professional development. So I take this opportunity to welcome these two great gentlemen who have come here to advise us how we should take shape in professional development. Also, I would like to welcome all the audience, including the president of IPMA, vice presidents, former presidents, and all the dignitaries from them. I'm really glad that this forum has already is doing very well. Halfway we are through. So thank you so much for coming, and I request one of you to honor the presence of the minister.
Good afternoon. Respected President Dr. Pillai, Minister Rajan, distinguished guests, it is really my great pleasure to welcome you here for the Project Professional Forum hosted by PMA India. IPMA is a federation of association of more than 70 countries around the world who have the same vision and passion, and we share the same mission of advocating and promoting project management. We were just discussing before we came into this room, the respected audience, especially the Minister of IT, how insecure, how volatile, how ambiguous our environment is, and how people